take the fall, and they picked him. They're not going to pick Trump because Trump had a big show on NBC at the time, The Apprentice.
But even before he was elected president, they had all these women come forward saying that he had groped them and all that stuff.
16.
And America voted for this motherfucker anyway. Like, I do not get it.
Well, it's the same reason people are voting for Roy Moore in Georgia for governor, even though he's been accused and pretty much convicted in generally of molesting and raping, statutorily raping, 14-year-old girls. And they're still going to vote for him because they say, well, we need a Republican in that seat. And that's even Trump himself said that we need a Republican in that seat. Oh, he denies it. He denied it. So it's not true. He denied it. Well, he has to say that because if he doesn't say that, then all the people who are saying it about himself can be deemed true. So that's why he's sticking up for Roy Moore, because if he doesn't, then they can come after him in the same way. So
I don't understand that. I just don't understand that whole thing. And with Trump and his tweets and everything, I'm getting off on Trump. I don't want to get off on Trump. I need to go back to Matt Lauer.
I don't want to get off on Trump either, because I don't want to get off on Trump at all in any fashion. But go on.
But the whole thing with Matt Lauer,
well, he is.
I guess with that, I could just say sorry, not sorry.
I gotta say, I never liked Matt Lauer. People always love Matt Lauer. I've never liked him. I've always thought he had this arrogance and this sort of insipid.
I thought he was handsome, but
insipidness about his personality and his face. I just never liked him, and so I think it's like, for me, when I heard about this, I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because I pretty much always felt he was kind of a creep anyway, and he is. So yeah.
It's weird. And then with Russell Simmons, he has stepped down on allegations. Let me pull up the article here because my screen just went. There it goes. Okay, hold on. Sorry, my screen decided to take a nap, so I had to wake it up. Okay, so
yes. So what?
I'm waiting for it to pop up.
What are you going to talk about?
So anyway, I was talking about Russell Simmons and how he had to step down for sexual misconduct of a screenwriter by the name of Jenny Lumet. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
It said the allegation comes a week after model Carrie Clausen accused the mogul of sexual misconduct and harassment, and then this lady stepped forward. A screenwriter by the name of Jenny Lumet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let's see. It says, so anyway, according to this, I have a snippet where it says, you had a car to driver that evening. Sometime later, you offered me a ride to my home. I said, sure. During the making of the Run DMC movie, I had been in vans with you and other crew members. I don't recall having accepted a ride home alone with you before that night.
Okay, well, whatever. They're all going to... The thing is, if you think about it, everybody who's been accused has, in some sense at least, denied it. They've either said, oh, it's a mischaracterization, or it didn't happen that way, or whatever, or it didn't happen at all. But the only two people that I can think of that actually admitted it were Louis C.K. and who's the other comedian that got accused? Oh my God, I can't think of the other person.
Well, they said Matt Lauer came with a statement today saying that it was, parts of it were true.
He did say he was sorry to some extent, but I was saying he still qualified it by saying, well, I think some of this is a mischaracterization and some of it's misconstrued and some of it's not true.
But it was Louis C.K. and someone else.
It was another comedian, but they were both comedians. I don't know what's wrong with me. What's his name? Frank. What's his name? The guy who played
Al
Stuart
Franken?
Smalley. Yes, thank you. Al Franken, because he used to be on SNL and everything. Yeah.
Right.
Those two both admitted that these things, like Al Franken admitted the picture was taken, that was him, and he did that. And Louis C.K. admitted he did masturbate in front of those women and whatever.
Right.
So, but they were also apologetic of it. But I just think it's interesting. Only the comedians were the ones that were apologizing. But anyway, right. Well, that's what's happened with that. Yeah, it's sad. It's pathetic. It's disgusting, and it's not going to be the end of it. There's going to be more and more people, and there's going to be people that we like eventually that are going to be accused. Like I like Al Franken, and he was accused, and that are going to be on this list eventually. It's just going to grow and grow and grow because more people are going to come forward. But the one thing I want to say before we move on about it, though, is that I think that it's important that women or men, whomever has been a victim of these kind of things come forward. I also think, however, that it is important to reserve judgment until you know the facts, because people can accuse somebody of anything. It doesn't make it true. I could say that you came over to my house and you stole my dog or something. I don't know. And it's not true. But just because I say it. So what I'm saying is that there has to be an investigation in these cases. And then what will come out of those investigations, we can then decide exactly who is innocent and who is guilty of what they're guilty for. So.
Well, I'm just starting to tell people now, whenever you're, any type of big name person, whether it's in a, city point or, from a, a city's, level or any type of public figure, if you're going to have meetings, you better have about 2, 3, 4 of the people in the room when you have witnesses. Because I'm like, if I ever have to have a meeting with someone, I'm having several people in the room after all this shit, because there are men and women coming forward about this stuff. But also, while we were talking about white privilege and white men and that type of thing, there's a study that came out, and I want to hear your take on this.
Okay.
There's a study that came out that says white Americans, 55% of white Americans feel discriminated against. But when asked what particular thing they feel discriminated against, they really couldn't name anything. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, 55%, that's a lot.
Well, I mean,
I didn't think the number would be that high.
That's 55% of the people they polled. It's not really technically the entire population.
Yeah, but I mean, that's still like half of the people that they polled, though.
Well, regardless, it depends on who they. That's the thing about polls. If you can take a poll, for example, and say, is there racism? And you can, if you're polling all black people and you're polling all white people, the answer is going to be different, obviously. So it depends on the people they ask, is what I'm saying. But anyway, Republican versus Democrat, whatever. But my answer to that question is I think that what they are calling discrimination is not really discrimination, because they're not being discriminated against. Because I'm not saying that discrimination towards white people does not exist ever, because it can and it does. But I'm saying that what they're explaining as discrimination is really just a change, a shift from dominance that they're used to and have been used to for hundreds of years in this country and thousands of years in this world. And the dominance is shifting from white people to people who don't look like them, and that makes them uncomfortable. And that's what they mean by discrimination. They just mean that black people get, affirmative action. Well, why don't we get affirmative action? Because you don't fucking need it. I mean, if you needed affirmative action, then we would all have fucking affirmative action. We wouldn't need affirmative action in the first place. So that's just one example. I mean, little things like that they don't fucking understand. So people who say that they're discriminated against and they're white are probably racist and probably, date their sister. So.
Well, I mean, I took it another way. I took it as if the people who were saying they were discriminated against, well, not all of them, not the entire 55%, but maybe that small portion of them were, poor, maybe like more like almost like poverty level, like low. I don't say poverty. I don't like the word poverty.
Yeah.
Almost more like lower income.
Yeah.
Now I could possibly see that because if you're lower, a white person who doesn't make a lot of money, you're in the lower income spectrum. I could possibly see how things may be a little bit more difficult for you, because I mean, you may not have the education, or you may not have, money, or a combination of both. It could be one or other or both. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I can see for them that it may be a little bit harder for them. But I'm sure there was one person they polled that made over $100,000 a year and drives a $100,000 car and lives in the Hamptons, say that they were discriminated against. I'm be like, girl, get the hell out of here. There's nothing wrong with anything going on your end. How can you be discriminated against when you have all this shit going on?
Yeah.
So it's like that's how I took it when they said that. But again, that's just a small percentage out of the 55%. The other ones, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking or what their definition of that was.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to throw that out there.
On the same vein, though, there's this gay porn star. His name is Hugh Hunter, and he earlier this week, he's a gay porn star. Anyway, earlier this week, he actually had written this long tweet about how he feels there's discrimination. He's white, by the way. There's discrimination in the porn industry towards people of other races. And he said, quote, "The gay porn industry has always been a place of veiled racism and bigotry. It now appears as if the GayVN Awards, which is like basically the Oscars for gay,
it's like the adult video
porn,
awards.
Yeah, have chosen to make this racism and bigotry more blatant in their return to the awards arena. As I browsed through the GayVN award nomination categories and its endless list of nominees, I noticed a category which immediately struck my sensibilities as wrong, quite frankly, and turned my stomach." He was referring to the ethnic category for Black, Latin, and Asian. He says, why? Why were these scenes not just included in the best category? Why would a gay porn company choose to separate minority groups into their own race at an event instead of actually having them all the same thing? And why call it ethnic? And he said this, and I agree too, of course. And I thought it was great that was coming from a white man. And then so they responded, and there was all this outrage about it, and the tweets, his tweet and everything from people who were Caucasian gay men saying, well, that's different because they're a different race and whatever. Well, white people were a different race than a black race, so it's whatever. It's stupid. But what they said, ultimately, though, the GayVN Awards actually decided that he was right and said, we offer a heartfelt, unequivocal apology to anyone who felt that the category of best ethnic scene was an attempt to slight performers of color. And so now they've removed the category completely altogether, and in the future they'll just have regular categories, not like separated by race or whatever. So I thought that was a very good thing. But do you think that in porn that there is discrimination in terms of how many scenes are Black or Latin or whatever versus white men?
You mean in gay porn, straight porn, or just in general?
Gay porn. Since that's the one you
Yeah, I'm going to say yeah, because, I mean, you're dealing with gay men, first of all. And then, now that you're throwing race into it, yes. I'm going to say yes, because it happens in everyday life and with gay men in general.
But I have to say something about it, though. Is I absolutely agree, because even in the real life, that's how it is. So of course it would be reflected in what people watch. And so, but the thing is, in terms of a strictly business sense, I think they think of it as, oh well, most of our viewers want to see white men having sex, not white men and black men, or black men and black men, or whatever. The majority want to see this, and that's what they give them. And it's the same with the movies in Hollywood. I think it's racist in Hollywood too, and that's why almost every male lead is a white male, not a black male or Hispanic male or whatever. Its majority is a white male, and that's for the same reason. They think, oh well, that's what people want to see, blah blah blah. Now, I think it's bullshit, because the truth is if you had, like in gay porn, you had a lot more mixing and stuff, which they have that too. But I'm saying generally a lot more, interracial scenes and whatever. It would make it far more normal and not this like delicacy, so to speak. You know what I mean? Not like this like special thing that's this category, like they're saying. It would be normal to people instead of looking at it.
I think they would. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. No, go ahead. What?
No, I'm just saying, no, I feel like what they were doing on their end, they were thinking they were trying to make, the black category and the Hispanic category kind of like, the exotic category for best performers or whatever the case may be. And I'm like,
so why don't they have Scandinavians and Germans and, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's stupid.
I've never understood that either. But I'm like, I agree. Just put them all in one category. So, I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of men who look at minorities as exotic. I'm like, oh, I want me a black man, because they're just so so
they have
exotic.
them
I want me a Hispanic man, or they're exotic, or
but
Puerto Rican, or Brazilian. Or
that's the thing about it, though, is that to me, I know. When I was single, that I had guys who wanted to sleep with me just because I was biracial, because I've never been with a biracial guy. What's it like, or whatever? What's your dick like? What's this like? What's it like in bed? You know what I mean? So they were interested for that
curiosity.
reason.
They didn't want to. They didn't do that because they looked at you as exotic.
Yes, they did. It's the same thing. I'm saying, my point is, I didn't like that, because to me it's the same thing as someone who's like fat, like maybe like obese, like 400, 500 pounds, and are like 5 foot tall or something. And they attract only guys who are like into chubs or whatever. And so I wouldn't want someone who's into me just for some fetish. I want somebody who's into me for me, my heart or soul or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so to me, it's kind of racist to be that way about black men or whomever, like big black cock or whatever. You know, it's always like BBC or whatever.
BBC.
Yeah. And so they have these fantasies about being fucked by some